Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the History of Fan Anime. I'm your host, William Chow, and today's episode is another fun episode where I've managed to find some footage from an old anime convention, the Anime Evolution 2006. This is going to show some of the videos and footage coverage of what I did at that particular convention, alright? Before I begin, I want to remind everyone to go down below, click like, and click subscribe. I'm almost at episode 200, so it's another sort of milestone episode, and hopefully we'll get really, really close to affiliate status when we get there as well. And I'll make another episode for that when we get there. Okay, so you want to make sure you have your notification turned on, so when those episodes come out, I can tell you. And also, right now working on my anime list to 1988. And again, this is another big year, so I'm gonna have to divide up these my anime list things a little bit more, and then sort of have to do an episode where I'm gonna have to pick the top episodes or top things from the group of episodes, obviously, because the episodes are getting larger and larger as there's more and more OVAs and TV series out there, right? That come out every year. And then again, I'll probably do another one where I encapsulate the best stuff that comes out of 1988 again, or like all the 80s as it were. They'll go through each year and kind of pull all the best and put them into one, and that's gonna be a good episode. I'll go in, okay? So make sure you have subscribe and notifications on for that. All right. So this episode, again, going through archives and that kind of stuff, I managed to find some old video footage. So this is the old-fashioned video camcorder that uses tapes and stuff, right? And so we managed to record all this, this footage that was on this thing onto a tape, and then of course have it transferred onto a DVD to so they have a digital form of it. And so now I've managed to go through it. I've cut and diced little pieces and that kind of stuff of me and what I did at Anime Evolution 2006. Okay, so let's give a little bit of back history about Anime Evolution. Anime Evolution is the sort of the the premier anime con that started in Vancouver to basically bring up and uprise the anime clubs, the clubs from the universities, and basically all the anime fans from around Western Canada, and even places like Seattle and Portland, right? They all were able to come and basically celebrate Japanese culture and anime here in Vancouver. Now, being closely associated and affiliated with the anime clubs in Vancouver, both at the Simon Fraser University and the University of British Columbia, we had used the facilities at the universities to help run and do the conventions, because usually what happens is that when you do a convention, you usually have to rent a large space. If you rent a hotel and that kind of stuff, that usually costs money. It usually costs booking up hotel rooms and that kind of stuff for accommodations and that kind of stuff. So it can be kind of expensive. Larger conventions also, you have to maybe rent like the convention center. Again, kind of costly, because again, you need a certain number of people to be able to to use a large space like a convention center. So again, can be very hard for upstarting convention, right? But since we had a lot of networking and that kind of stuff done, and because of our association that we've had with the anime clubs, we were able to basically, for the first many conventions, use the facilities at both the universities. So in this case, 2006 was at Simon Fraser University, which is really good because, again, being a university, they have this is a large quadrangle university with a big open air space in the middle of it. So it was really nice that we have that nice sort of natural lighting, sort of a nice sort of a natural environment that was good, and it was covered. So again, it was protected against the weather. So it was really nice to get that as well. Plus, the university is really well outfitted, because the universities have big, large lecture hall rooms as well as smaller classrooms. They have AV equipment and all that kind of stuff. So whenever we want to run videos or do just conversational type of talks, or question and answer sort of sessions, microphones and all that stuff, and on the PA equipments are all built into all the rooms. So using something like a university is really a good place to get conventions started. So again, that's what we used primarily to get the convention started here. So this year, at 2006, I was both a dealer in the dealer's room, and I also helped run the karaoke box. Now, I'll probably have to make an episode on exactly how a karaoke box works and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's basically I was able to basically put on a show and run karaoke and let people sing to an open public, and it was a pretty popular event. And I'll show you some footage from that to see how fun and popular that ended up being. Okay, quite a lot of fun, definitely for sure. So without further delay, I'm sure you want to see some of the pictures, so let's begin with that. Okay, so here I am inside the dealer's room. All right. Now I was put on a table beside my friend Shanna, who right now is got a huge display of doujinshis and that kind of stuff, like yaoi stuff and that stuff. And of course, I'm on this side, and I've got a lot of the the videos and DVDs and that kind of stuff that I had in my store that I used to run. I remember I closed my store down in 2004, so this is 2006. So this is a lot of the excess inventory that I had on for sale and for rental that I had the excess inside the store. And so various different people will come over and look at the various different selections, that kind of stuff. And here's one person that just dropped by, and the first thing she says is hentai. And of course, that's one thing to recognize. And again, so cosplay is also another big thing that sort of happens, and a lot of a lot of people were, carrying dressing up in different anime costumes. Here is another person, as you can see, she's carrying a big, huge Tokyo pop bag. And of course, if you refer back to an episode I did where they were handing those out at the San Diego Comic Con, they were so prolific in doing this big big bag of swag contest with all the other companies like AD Vision and Bandai and whatnot. Tokyo Pop had basically the biggest bag of all the swag bags that they had. And likewise, you can see the pictures that they had in San Diego, how they polluted the streets of San Diego with their big bags of stuff. Anyway, so various different people were coming across and looking at all the different sort of animes and DVDs, that kind of stuff. And I carried a very wide variety of stuff for everybody. So that allowed basically people to to get into different sort of genres, right? Not just a hentai, but also had a bunch of yaoi and a lot of popular isekai type titles like Escalphone and of course all that kind of stuff like that. And again, there's Shanna's table. She's had a whole bunch of tables full of the doujinshis and a lot of plushies and cards and lamy boards and that kind of stuff. And that was kind of good. And so you can see people, I was also, giving away a bunch of video cassettes and that kind of stuff from, again, stuff from that I had in my rental section. So anyone who's sort of interested in a particular topic, then I'd maybe sort of give out the thing of that. So So conventions are always like lots of fun because you get lots of different people that drop by and they look at trying to always get a good deal on something is always really the big trick in anime conventions, and that's sometimes pretty tough because as I said marketability and that kind of stuff and different people have different priorities on their stuff. So again, sometimes getting a good price on something also depends on finding the right dealer that's selling the stuff, right? So okay, so you can also see that a lot of people are looking for things that are like they can relate to, or things that are related to the topic that they're interested in. So you can see a lot of people are cosplaying different various animes. For example, you can see a person here dressed up as the Prince of Tennis. And so possibly that they might be wanting to look for some videos or some manga or some doujinshis or whatever related to their particular animes and that kind of stuff. And then there's a variety of different things that that those people would be looking for. Sometimes artwork is a really big thing that they're looking for, which is more restricted to the artist alley. But in this case, a lot more people are more interested in like actual goods, right? Which is something that's probably not really as common in a modern day convention, because as I said, more people are more interested, because I said, vendors and that kind of stuff are really having, harder time, you know, carrying stock of stuff. In previous conventions, more people are more interested in getting, media, for example. They're trying to get the anime, and then trying to, get different, merchandise related to the anime at these conventions, because then more people were trying to sell this kind of stuff, right? But now, with the way how quick anime changes and that kind of stuff, it's hard to order something and get it in, before the end of a, for example, a 12 episode run. You don't know if the anime is going to be even any good. So you can't hold on to the merchandise too long, because if you order it's merchandise for the wrong show, and it's a bad show, and no one wants to make merchandise for that show, then it becomes very, very difficult, right? So long running shows is very, very important. So that's the staples like Naruto, One Piece, you know heck, even Dragon Ball and Sailor Moon and all those sort of say standards are usually safe bets. So you're always encountering the problem of peak interest in that kind of stuff, because I said usually at the beginning of a show, or right when it's its height of popularity. Everyone's sort of really interested in it, and you want to try to get the merchandise in and that kind of stuff. And by the time it arrives, it's still going, but so you want to try to liquidate and get that stuff out, and get some cash flow, get it turned over. But the problem is that as time goes on, the longer you hold on to it, the longer it doesn't sell, then the likelihood of it selling, or the people's interest in it starts dipping and going down lower and lower as the show finishes, and then it's no longer being aired. Then you've got older kind of stuff that just kind of sits around and doesn't move, right? And then that's really bad for in retail type of thing, because it really holds up money that you could have used to get more stock or get more different products and that kind of stuff, right? So it's important on the retail side that what you get in sells and moves on. And I think part of the problem of why anime is having such a hard time over here right now is that the turnaround time on a lot of these animes are just way too short. People are just sort of I guess these shall we say disposable animes nowadays. The series are so short; they're only 4 episodes, 6 episodes, or 12 episodes. It's really tough to get a gauge on will this show be popular enough in the first couple episodes, and then if it is, trying to get some of that merchandise in or whatever to see if you can capitalize on that. And by the time it arrives, who knows? Show might be ended already by the time by the time you get it, or close to the ending, and then it stops, right? It stops at episode 12 or whatever, and then maybe you hope that it continues on to season 2, and then they get up to maybe 24, 26 episodes for it. But that's no guarantee in the modern day industry, right? Because again, everything's it's so I would say commercialized, but it's so much so system. So yeah, commercialized might not be the right word. I'd probably say system, or template, as it were, right? A lot of the animes nowadays are well, I think the problem is that a lot of animes are now considered content rather than stories, or depictions of the things like mangas and that kind of stuff. Whereas it used to be that when you license a particular show, you were guaranteed 12 episodes or 26 episodes for a TV series run, and then you were able to then develop the characters, develop the story. You had basically a timeline where all the stuff was going to happen, and it was virtually to a system, right? I mean, we knew that episode 13 was going to be the the ending episode for the first season, or first half season, as it were. That episode, the next episode after that is going to be half of the episode is going to be a summary of the first part. So the first you'll see 10, 11 minutes of the show is going to be all sort of a recap, and then half of an episode is new ones. For example, Double Zeta Gundam does that, And then, of course, you know that the ending season of is going to end up at 26. 27 is going to be another recap episode, and then onwards, right? But then every character, especially even if they're not the protagonist character, usually gets their own episode to basically flesh out their story, their history, their whatever. And again, a lot of the new animes, they just can't do that. Unless it's a really long-running episode or a long show, they just can't focus on any one character, especially if they're not the main character, because a lot of things won't happen. I just think of another example like Cowboy Bebop. 26 episode series. They allowed everybody, including the dog, actually has his own episode. So I mean, again, in a modern day anime, having they'll do that, right? So what can you do? Another thing I always love doing when I go to conventions and that kind of stuff is I love going to the other dealers' tables and that kind of stuff, and looking at stuff that they have. And then here there's one where I went to one of the model tables and I said, "Hey, tell you what, I'll take this Gundam Mark II, high complete master grade right here, and you just come over to my table here and you pick out something you like on my table, and we'll do a trade, right?" And so, he goes and looks at some of the different figures. I'll go with like G-Taste figures and that kind of stuff, and lots of, anime DVDs, and it looks like he's, I'm giving him a recommendation here for, I think, Isolated Island XXX or something like that, which is really pretty cool. Just to give him some suggestions, saying, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, well, how about this DVD box set here for some Gundam here, right?" And it's like, okay, yeah. And so that I always love doing that, doing trades, that kind of stuff. That's always really cool. And that's always another side is some spicy cosplay, which is always kind of detail we see at a convention or not. And I made a mention of some of the stuff that you're never going to ever see at a convention ever again. And that's one of the things that I mentioned in one episode. But in addition to that, having the ability, for example, to have like hentai DVDs right in the open here like this. That's probably another thing that will be probably a thing of the past. It's like, well, no one ever even touches media per se anymore. So I mean, that's just obviously it's just one type of things that just doesn't happen anymore. But it's just a sign of the times, I guess. But again, that's probably some of those things that you probably will not see modern anime or an anime convention per se anymore. And I think that's a little bit too bad. And it's just it's just a different time and a different age, I guess. All right. So the other thing I did at this convention was I also ran the karaoke box. Okay. So basically, this is where I basically brought in my own little karaoke server, which I was trying to build using an old version of Internet Explorer, and basically had all the songs and stuff loaded on a computer. And basically, here I am trying to hook the thing up to the school's AV equipment, right? So that way I can get the sound working, and I can get the video going on the large screen. Have a secondary video going so that people don't have to stare at the screen in order to read the lyrics on the screen. So you can tell it's pretty well attended for because a lot of people want to get into singing and that kind of stuff. Like karaoke was a real kind of a new thing. Just having it on a large screen, the presentation really makes it more watchable and more participatable, if you will.
Thank you for those someone who gave me some Yuna Ito, and someone who gave me some Sailor Moon ones. Sailor Moon! Anyway, so what we'll do is we'll form a line over here. You don't need to be a very long line because the computer will actually do it for you.
One more run. Oh yeah, I see one real fast. Where is she? There's Rick, yeah. Look at this. Total chaos. Is this on tape, man? Yeah, this is all on tape. Get in front of the face, man.
Disappointed on your screen. Then I saw her face. Now I'm a believer. Not a trace.
Okay, it's just going to finish up with this last little point. I made a video earlier about the, shall we say, the new bootleg industry that's happening in anime. It's really not actually that new, considering since this is back from like 2006. But yeah, we've always had things in like the quote the artist alley, where people were able to bring their own artwork and things and whatnot, and actually manufacture and sell their own little trinkets and things like this. So, for example, this person making pins, theoretically could just use any sort of logo or icon or even picture and press it onto a pin. Um, you know, and so, for example, if he decides to pick, let's say, Mario and Luigi, or for example, he could theoretically take a template, print it out, and make pictures of Nintendo or PlayStation or whatever, and and basically be making and cut out these little die stamps that go onto pins. And in which case these pins can then be sold for a couple bucks or whatever, and make multiple ones for several dollars, right? And again, people like, for example, if you use Nintendo, for example, they would not be getting any sort of this kind of revenue for the use of the Nintendo logo, for example, or Mario or Wario or anything like that in regards to that. Again, this is just one of these sort of industries that in the past was a small part of the convention. It wasn't the artist alley was sort of the smaller section in a convention, but now all of a sudden without a lot of major dealers, they have now become the larger part, and now they're basically taking over or is the vast majority of the main dealer's room now. So again, authentic Japanese merchandise has been taken over by all this fan-made merchandise. All right, I hope that was a good little bit of nostalgia for a lot of you. Again, I realize that conventions are much bigger and much more flair than they are in the past. But I mean, the spirit is there, and especially when you're in like maybe a smaller city or that kind of stuff, and you're just trying to get an upstart of conventions, that kind of stuff. Do check out the colleges and universities. They usually are a pretty good place to get started for conventions, that kind of stuff, and maybe start up something new for your little area. All right. So again, if you haven't done so below, click like and click subscribe as we get more episodes about conventions, because I got some more pictures and that kind of stuff from San Diego Comic-Con, and so more stories and more pictures of that. All right. So until next time, see you again.